Okay. I don't know why my camera's not working again. Sorry. 1 second. Does this work? Oh my gosh. I feel like everybody's seen every angle of me but the right one. Is anybody even here? Maybe it doesn't even matter because nobody's here. I don't know what's going on with OBS. When I changed my camera, maybe it'll work now. Hello. Is it gonna work? Can it hear anything? Wow. I don't know. Technology is really failing. Let's try. See if that will crash anything. Make it better. Is it gonna be working? No? Ah. Ah. Oh. Let's see, what's this got connected to? And I've got Pro microphone. Pro microphone. Ah, and now I can hear something. Maybe. Oh my gosh. Ah. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on with the OBS. Is like fallen over, and all of the technology is going wrong. But there you go. Let's see if I can just catch this up and make sure that I'm as close as I can get. Right, let's do the proper thing. Intro. I'm sat down this time. Sorry, that's a change because I basically didn't want to stand up. I've been standing up all morning. Hello. Welcome to another week of Sometimes It Works. Clearly this week, sometimes it doesn't work. So that's where we're at. I want to apologize, first of all, for the poor sound. I've got pretty bad audio today for some reason. Let me see if I can sort out that volume issue. Maybe now it'll be a little bit better today for some reason. Let me see if I can sort out that volume issue. Maybe I get a little bit of feedback because I'm a little bit better today. There we go. Maybe the volume's better, Marion. You can let me know. That would be good. Yeah, what else have I got to apologise for? Just being really bad at doing this. I am trying to get better, honestly. It's just, I don't do it every single day, and that means I don't really practice it a lot. Anyway, ignoring all of that stuff, how are you? How was your week? Say hello, please. That would be good to hear from you. I'm looking forward to a little bit of banter at the beginning. It was nice last week. We had a bit of a chat. Can't remember if there's anything important that we needed to cover again, but if we've got anything that anyone wants to talk about, feel free to raise that now and we can have a chat. What's happened this week for me? Nothing really too exciting. We came to an end of a project that was interesting. It was an interesting project, but it's finished. And what else is going on? I really enjoyed the Mostly Technical podcast this week. If you haven't seen Mostly Technical ever, go and watch it or listen to it. It's Ian Landsman and Aaron Francis talking about tech things, but not all tech things. This week it was stocks that was less technical, although maybe actually stocks are pretty technical. I don't know. They had Caleb Porzio on the show, which was really cool because he's very smart and he's funny, and I like Livewire. I like the work that he does. So it was interesting for them to be chatting to him, but it was a really cool business-y show this week. So I think this episode, I think it was number 12. Is that right? That can't be right. That feels like too many. I'm sure I saw the number 12 somewhere. I'll link to it later anyway. The episode video probably I'll stick in the show notes or something. So yeah, well, just go and watch that because I think it was a good one. Okay, well, so last week I'm just going to pick up, I think, from where I left off, which was I was trying to design the kind of database structure for my app Spread, and we were putting that in Miro, weren't we? So I'm just going to fetch that up and get things ready. But in the meantime, over the last few days, I've been kind of keeping my eye on stories about banking and payments and things. And I kind of got excited to put the Laravel site that I'm putting together into place so that we can actually use it, and I realized that the site that I had up from the beginning of the year wasn't really in a good shape, and so I took some time. I know I wasn't going to do this off stream, but I did take some time off stream this week to just put a little bit more effort into that site and bring it back to life, and now it's running on Laravel, which we'll see. It's just like the basic site that I wrote, which is just bits of PHP scripts. Now it's nice, kind of divided up into some blade. It's not really that different. And then deployed it to production just so that the site was up and running properly and things can be done. People can sign up for the wait list and whatever. Yeah, and that was a good little exercise, but I thought it was a bit too basic for streaming, and I wanted to do it quite quickly, so I did. So that's up and in place. So basically the application that we've been working on is now in a production environment, which is cool. That's a good position to be in, and I'm excited for that. But obviously it doesn't really do anything. There's very little of the application really there. It's just a few pages. And what was good about that was, because it's just a few pages and there's nothing dynamic really going on there, I decided to use Laravel Folio and give that a go, and I really like that. It's a really simple, easy way to get going if you just want to create a bunch of views and assume the roots based on the file names. And yeah, we can have a look at that. I think that was really cool. Hey Essa, welcome. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thanks for joining. I did ask before you joined what anyone wanted to talk about. I think nobody stuck around. But if you've got anything that you want to talk about specifically, or you want me to talk about, that's fine. Let me know. Or just say, how was your week? What have you enjoyed and what have you not enjoyed so much this week? Cool. I'll let you think about that. If you want to reply, that's cool. If not, that's also cool. Just tell me to move on and we'll crack on. So yeah, I was doing Laravel Folio and I really liked that. I actually bumped into an issue which I then realised was nothing to do with Folio, and that's just like terrible memory, and I will explain that as well because I think that's a fun, silly one. What else before I get in? Oh yeah, so then I was talking about like open banking stuff and just banking stuff in general, and I came across this tweet from Wes Bos, which was a video clip of the Syntax FM podcast, where I don't know the name of his co-host. That's really bad, isn't it? I just saw the clip and I haven't really watched the show or anything. But this clip was like a 4-minute clip of somebody deleting or updating a whole bunch of bank details in a production database by accident, which is bad enough. But then it kind of goes into the detail of like punching in manually bank details to make payments, and they talk about ACH, which is the US kind of what do you call it, like instant payments, faster payments it is in the UK, or SEPA in Europe. And it was just like, wow, classic example. And I think it was Wes who was basically saying he'd punched in the wrong digits, or had them punched in it by a teller in the bank, the wrong digits to a bank account in China, sent thousands and thousands of dollars to the wrong bank. And that's exactly where open banking and automated payments in this way, bank to bank, makes so much sense. Large amounts of money moving across, say, long distances, and for it to be fully automated and like secure, and there's no room for human error. It's just like one of the most obvious things where human error literally costs people money, and we could do away with that, and that's what I want to do. But the other benefit, as I've been tweeting about, is that it has the potential to have really, really low fees, or at the moment what I'm doing, we have 0 fees, and that's really cool for online payments, which you basically can't do any other way at the moment. So that's where I want to explore this product. I keep repeating that every time we do this, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. But it's a very cool concept. We're on the cusp of something great, and I want to turn it into something really useful for everybody. So that's fun. I'll share the link to that tweet as well so that people can see that. In fact, I might just grab the link to that now. Is that the right one? If I do that, yeah, and I'll just put it in the chat so you can have whilst I waffle about things, you can have a think about this. So I'm just interested by your current project spread, native PHP, so I'm here. How's it going? Yeah, if you're still here, Essa, it's going okay. Native PHP, I'm struggling to get the time on, honestly, at the moment. I'm snatching blocks of time to work on it, but a couple of projects have come to the end for me recently, so obviously I've still got to go and find some paid work, but I think I might have a little bit more time in the upcoming weeks to work on some of those things. Spread is it's very much a low effort side project at the moment, and I'm intentionally really only doing stuff on it on this stream. So yeah, we'll see if I can actually make any sensible progress. Yeah, I could feel that. Like, there's quite a few use cases that I've seen recently that they could benefit from. Obviously, where it is at the moment, it's not going to be ready for a while, so let's see. But we'll work on it today. We'll hopefully make some useful progress and get people excited. And the thing that I really want to do is try and get a few people in the UK at least on board with it and start using it and start fleshing out what the product should actually be and do. Yeah. Hi Adam, nice to have you with us. This is interesting. I'm just talking to some open banking providers. Is this Spread? Yes, that is Spread. I can talk a little bit more about any of the, like if you've got questions about open banking, I've done a lot of research on it over the last 12 months or so. I'm very excited by it. I hope that comes across. So yeah, that's why I'm trying to build a product on it. Okay, so what I'm going to do at this moment is start switching things up and getting ready for picking up where we got to last time. So I'm just going to move this over here, move that over there. And I think I spent a little bit more time getting my windows prepared properly this time around, which I don't really do normally. I just wing it and then I end up having loads of stuff in the way. So let's try, and I hope this is going to work. Because everything's sort of broken lately, it seems. Yeah, it did. Okay, well, that's fine. OBS is just having a fit for me today. I've done so many things and it's just crashed, which is really, really sad. So hopefully that doesn't happen in the middle of the stream. I'm going to try and not touch too many buttons and things. Let's see if I can just... I don't know why the mic volume has been so low. Maybe that's a little bit better. Apologies if it suddenly got really loud for you. OBS seems to be struggling a lot. The one register says it's up really high and the other one that I've got in front of me says it's really low. Who knows? I hope it's okay for you. Shout up if it's not. I'm going to just switch my resolution as well down a little bit. Let's go to 1080. So hopefully this is at the right sort of size for everybody to read. Can everybody read that? Let's see. Wow. Maybe the resolution is just so bad no one can read. Anyway, I don't know if that's just because my connection's really poor. Yeah, okay. It seems to be okay. Let me know if it needs to be a bit smaller or bigger from your perspective. A smaller resolution, you know what I mean. Okay, so what have we got? Quick pickup, there's nothing outstanding. I'll run through some of the changes that I made over the last few days just so that we can get up to speed with what I've done. And just a quick reminder of where we were. So we were looking at this sort of database structure. And I was thinking about this a lot. You know, we could spend a lot more time agonizing over some of these details, and I think I just want to build. I did want to be the person who was going to plan this out really well and everything, but you know, some of it for me is just like exploring by doing. So I think I'm just going to build. I'm not going to spend too much more time thinking about this. In fact, I might have even started doing some of the just building things because I think I put some models and migrations in here. So we'll look at that. So you probably didn't see beforehand the kind of old site. It's not very different, so like we can just look at what the site is right now. So you can go to justspread.com. This is the site that was, it's the site that is, but it was built with just raw PHP files and really hackily thrown together. So I've just put this in Laravel in the application that we're building. I'll just get rid of all of those bookmarks, that's really annoying. And yeah, it works. It's fine. There's a little bit that I wanted to do. There was a video on this page which actually was really out of date now, and I just want to improve that so we can bring that back. Sorry, I'll just make sure I've got the chat up somewhere I can see. And yeah, so I want to do another video that's like shows this working properly again. So there's a bit here also that this isn't able to do now, which was actually to like go through a demonstration of the payment flow. So I had that up. I had it somewhere like simonhamp.spread.me. I think this isn't going to work now. Or if it, okay, it does still work, but this is actually not right because this is using the old site. So this was like the basic payment page that I just wanted to set up as a demo. It was like, you can send me some money. And I think this is quite good if you just wanted a donation page, you know, or a tip jar kind of thing. It's an idea of what the product could do, one of the things that it could do. But the real use case I feel is like, you've got your website, you've got a product or something that you create, and then you just want to be able to almost on demand create a payment. So you want to be able to do like what you do with Stripe, where you say, this is the amount that I want to charge the customer, like create the whatever they call it, payment intent or something now. So create the intent to pay, and then you get back your tokens and things that Stripe says, now we know that you can take this payment on behalf of this user, or you can attempt to charge their card or something, and you get the card details and you pass them on to Stripe, and they do the dance again, and then finally you end up with, you can charge that person's card for a custom amount. It's like not fixed on the Stripe side, it's something that you send to Stripe and they tell you, okay, here's the details of what you need to do to follow this flow through. And that's what we want to achieve here. We want to be able to receive the payment amount from the supplier, that's the wrong word, the merchant. So if it's you, like you set up your website and you say to Spread, please charge this customer, or like, please give me a payment link for this amount. And then they get a payment link and the customer can follow that through and pay with their bank. So hopefully that's clear and I haven't just completely cut through loads of stuff. Feel free to ask any questions, please, because I would love questions. I'll give you a second to think about that, whilst I also, what am I going to do? Yeah, so let's run through the code that's changed. So the basic site was just a bunch of these pages. In fact, we can have a look at that as well. This is, I call it Spread Raw. There's a load of stuff here that I was going to do that I've never, like stuff that we played around with maybe a month or two ago. So we could look at more detail, but basically it's just these like PHP files and just serving those out. And I ripped all the HTML and styles and things from this and put it in here. So it's come up with this in a Folio way, and the Folio way is really cool because you install Folio, which is just like composer require Laravel Folio, which I did. And then the default is that you put your views in this resources views pages folder, which it creates when you do the, I think there's a PHP artisan folio :install or something command that you run, and it creates this folder with a git keep file, and then it creates the Folio service provider as well. Cool. So then you can create these views, and so I just started bashing them in. Index, we'll look at, we won't go into detail on the views because it doesn't matter, but I set up layout as well. So because it's all just Blade views, you get the full power of Blade, components, whatever you want to do. So I created this layout, and then in the I've done this in views components layouts rather than views layouts because I like the auto components as opposed to like at extends blah blah blah, and I'll show you why. So we'll look at this one in a little bit more detail. Sorry, not this one. This one's a terrible example because that doesn't do it. Pricing is the better example. Right. So the reason for using components, the auto components for layouts, I don't have to create two files. I don't have to create a view file and the component class. I can just put the view file in a folder. It's kind of pre-Folio logic that Laravel has had for a while in Blade. And I can just put a file in the right folder and it'll go, I can treat this as a component. And then you reference the component using this X dash syntax, like the HTML tag that Blade passes out and kind of knows how to get that specific component, which is really cool. And then because we're using components, we've got these encapsulated slots, which if you're just using excuse me, if you're just using inheritance of views, template inheritance, you don't really get that. You get all of your variables leaking through everywhere, unless you're really explicit about it. But this forces you to be kind of explicit about what you're passing through to different components, and I really like that. I think it's much clearer. It's very view-like, if you're VUE view, if you've ever used the JavaScript framework, but I really like it. So anyway, that's that. Really basic site built with Folio. One of the cool things here is that you've got these sort of functional things that allow you to do stuff that you'd expect if you were building it as a proper root file, you know, like a root and then the view and the controller and stuff in different places. You'd be able to name the root, and there's a bunch of other things here that are just these functional API for Folio pages that you can just throw at the top. So I just do name because I like to reference the roots by name when I'm linking to them. I think there's an example of that here. So there's that. What else went on in here? There's of any import. Register, pay, no, that's fine. So I can talk a little bit about the problem that I bumped into that I thought was a problem that wasn't a problem, because I think that would be kind of interesting. But that comes in waitlist integration. I know I'm skipping, don't worry, we'll get to something useful on the other points in a second. So here I added a route to do. Oh no, it's not there. It's okay. It's fine. I added a route to take waitlist signups through Mailcoach, and I could just post this straight to this endpoint on Mailcoach if I wanted to, but I just wanted to own the process a little bit more, and it felt really simple to do that. But I was really struggling with the post to this route from my form. For some reason it wasn't working. Let's have a look at the form. You'll see straight away the problem. It's right there. So I had the form in place and it looked like this, and I was posting directly to the thing, and I thought, no, I want to take control of this, and I just modded it all up so that I could do it for like Laravel posting back to itself rather than to Mailcoach. And for ages it was just giving me a 419 error, and I was like, what the heck is going on? What am I missing? It was like, my CSRF token's there and I've got the cookie and blah blah blah, and for some reason it just didn't like click with me. I need to put the CSRF token in the form. It can't not be in the form. Like, that's tried and true that forever. And I just like realize, you know, I haven't been doing forms for a really long time. I've been doing all of this Ajax stuff, or it's been like, well, effectively Ajax, but through Livewire or Vue, you know, like Axios requests and things, and it's all just assumed, it's all there, it's attached. I haven't done anything specific. I haven't had to explicitly add the CSRF token to the data that I'm sending. And I realized then that I haven't been doing like traditional HTML forms for a while, and you've still got to do this. I was like, okay. And yeah, maybe there's some like component that somebody's built that does an X form and it just handles that because it's built in, and that's where I should get to. But it took me too long to remember that this was the thing that I needed. And so yeah, it was just like, if you're building basic forms, don't forget you need your CSRF token, and you should have it. If you're trying to, I read a few questions on Stack Overflow, not related to this, but the other day about some other things, and the people like trying to sidestep CSRF, and just don't. You need CSRF, and you should incorporate it in your forms like this. So anyway, we've got that. That's cool. Let's go to the thing that we were talking about last week and get back onto track. So this is the place that we kind of got to, and I was thinking about lots of different things, and you know what, I've kind of really gone, this is there, but these things I just don't care enough about at all. We're going to move them fully out of the way. They're just not in view. We've got the basics of this structure already. We've got teams and users, and we needed something to kind of record a transaction that was either going to happen or is happening or has happened. So that's what that table is about, and I really just want to like, let's focus on just that right now. That's what we have or what we need at this specific moment. And I think fundamentally that's going to allow us to do quite a lot of stuff, because all of the things that we want to do are one of these things at the moment. Like the most basic part of this system is, as I said earlier, someone can create the idea of a payment, and then somebody can follow that through and make a payment using that reference. So this should be enough. In fact, we probably don't even really need this idea of a customer yet. Arguably, I mean, we should potentially, but let's see where we get to with that. So then, because I'd spent a little bit of time in between times doing this, I thought, well, I'm just going to bash this out and we can focus on something important during the stream. So I've created the payments table already, and the payments model, like a basic version of that. In fact, I didn't do that. That was just the artisan make model. And then added the Trello merchant ID to the teams table, because the team is analogous to the merchant in that world. And yeah, I might rename the table or something at some point. I don't know how painful that's going to be. So I'm going to leave that for now. We don't need to do that. That would just be tidy up. So what do we need to do next? If we've got our tables in place, the thing that I would like to do is hook up the creation of the payment, which we're doing via this service called Trello, so that when we've made a request to make a payment, the data that comes back we save into our database, so we can interrogate that later on. So we've got the payments table. I've ran the migrations already, and now we just need to save some stuff into it. So we'll crack on with that. Right. Let's get rid of all of this rubbish. We don't need any of that at the moment. Well, actually, the web route that we had there might be a good one, this pay. So this was, I don't know, a month ago. We were looking at this payment controller. And we've got this Trello class, which is the client library. This is our own SDK that we're building in Saloon. And the reason for that is because they don't have one yet for PHP. So we're having to build it out from what we know. They don't really have any documentation either, so kind of just making it all up as I go. But I've got little scant bits of detail that have allowed us to build this out. Saloon is really helping with that because it means that this is nice and tidy already. And really thought through, and I haven't had to think about it, and I just know that's going to work. And it does work. We tested it and it works. So now we want to like hook it up to the proper user interface that we've got and things like that. That'll be cool. And we want to extract some of this stuff into more sensible things, and we're going to figure out how we're going to save this into our database. Okay, so 40 minutes into the stream, or whatever, we're finally getting to the thing that we want to do. It's good, isn't it? Okay, so merchant ID. This is the hard-coded one for my dummy but real merchant that can receive money into a real account, the one that I tested this with before. This now could really go into my teams table because I'm going to leave it as Simon's team, that's fine. I've got this Trello merchant ID. Cool. Wrong class. Right, so this can go just straight into here. I'm going to save that. Right. Okay. So now we need to get the merchant ID back out from this request somehow. So it's just thinking about like what I had before we'll come to, but before we get to that, because like that's the goal, just to remind you what I mean, this kind of like simonham.spread.me, which is a different domain that I've got for these subdomain links for payment pages. That's kind of what I want, but it doesn't need to be that at the moment. That's just that's a very specific product path in this, where we create payment pages for people, let's say. I don't think we need that. I think what we need is a way to say, when we come to this page, when this post payment thing happens, you're doing it to a specific merchant, and then we can go and get the merchant ID from that. We don't want to reveal the merchant ID to the end user, and I don't really want to reveal my internal ID either of the team. So we could do like a UUID, which we were talking about last week as a possibility, but we can prove out some of the logic right before we do any of that. Let's just go here. I want to get the merchant Trello merchant ID, right? That's what I want this to behave like. In fact, I probably don't need that as a variable of its own, but just for the sake of keeping it similar, we've got the merchant ID coming out of this hypothetical record in our teams table. So we need the team, right? Got our Trello service, we want the team, and we're going to call that merchant. Thank you. And that's basically root model binding. So we're going to say pay team. I can't remember how we do that. Laravel root model binding. Nice. If it's type inted, and the name has to match the variable name, I guess. Match your root segment name. Fine. So, team is not the right word. Merchant is the right word. And that means if I do, let's do a really simple answer to that question. Spread.test pay 1. And I need to, before I hit that, just turn that back into a get. Cool, so that was the ID that we just put in the database that was in the code. We're now fetching it out of the database. Nice. It's not ideal, it's simplistic, etc. But it's good. That actually works really well. So I should then be able to post to that endpoint in theory. We'll do that. We'll set that up in a bit. But let's say we can just do a get. We can pay, and this is going to say, ooh, you what, mate? Oh, amount. Yeah, I didn't put an amount. That's silly. That's what we can do. Let's do £100. Oh dear. What? That's not what we saw last time. Why am I not getting the QR code? This is weird. It's not doing anything. I feel like they've changed stuff. Oh, what's this error? Oh dear. Cannot return null for non-nullable create. Ah, yikes. Okay. I don't know what that means. But it's kind of worked. Like, they've returned something to us, we've redirected to that. I want to get, it doesn't matter. I want to get in the middle of that process at the moment. I don't really care about the fact that this isn't working. It's annoying, but it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna, let's maybe not redirect at the end, so that we just don't end up going away. Oh, I can keep hitting this endpoint. We should have this payment DTO, which in theory, I guess we should just be able to pass that into our model, no? Or transform it into a model. Yes. And this is where it starts to unravel all of the details that we require. Yeah, my head is skipping ahead, and I need to just stay focused on what we're doing right now. What are we doing right now? We want to capture some of this, but we're gonna fail to capture some of it because of the structure that we've already set up. So we've set up this idea of a user ID and a team ID. Some of this doesn't feel right somehow. But amount, currency, status. Do we get a status? No, we have to make one of those. So we're going to make one of those. Okay, let's start thinking about our payment model and how that's going to actually receive this data, right? So we could do, you know, this is what I'm reaching for. I'm not going to try and sidestep my own thinking on it, because I'll just end up doing things backwards. Protected, fillable. I don't like setting guarded to empty. I've seen that a few times. I really discourage that. I think it's really helpful to be explicit about this. Right, we know that that's coming from outside, so we need the Trello payment ID. User ID? I'm just reading off the table here. User ID? Don't know what that is yet. Team ID? That's a relationship, so I'm not going to do that as a fillable because we'll do that properly. Yeah, amount, currency, status. These are the things that should be fillable from the outside. And then meta is my catch-all for a bunch of stuff that I don't know really what it is yet. And stuff that we probably don't need indexed or to filter by or whatever, like the URLs, which feels appropriate enough for now. Okay, and then we should have some casts. Meta probably should make that a special object. Amount is not an integer, it's a float in this world. Actually, is that true? No, it's not. It is an integer. I should have it as an integer. We're gonna. So that's actually revealed another thing. The amount here is a floaty string. So we could do 100. Right. And I want to turn that into the smallest denomination stuff that seems to be standard. So it should be an integer. So we'll multiply by the appropriate amount to get to the correct small denomination logic. Trello payment ID is a string. Currency, we're going to set that to some kind of enum, which we haven't come up with yet. Status is also going to be, I'm not going to spend time worrying about the names too much, but we'll do status for now. What do you call your enums? Where do you put them? What are they really? I'm just going to call it enum. And then we'll do, does this let us create an enum? Yeah. Currency. And this is a string. No, it's not extends. What's the damn, why can't I remember the syntax for enum PHP? Case. Where is backed? Oh, there's a whole chapter on enumerations. Backed enumerations. Yeah. So case. Whoa. That's unnecessary because we only have this one at the moment. So thanks ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever, but no. Let's have another one. Call it status. It's going to be status extends implements. It's not fair. I can't set the. It's a backed enum here, and status is an int in the database. So we're going to keep it as an int here. That's good enough for now. Pending, paid, and failed. I had this conversation with somebody the other day around, what do these numbers mean? What if I want to add one in the middle? Blah, blah, blah. And the whole debate over, should an enum be stored as a number in the database, or should it be stored as text or something? I'm going to go into that just for a moment as a little bit of an aside. So wait, let's do this view. So as a little bit of an aside, for enums, should you store them in the database, or should you store them? No, not should you store them in the database, or should you store them in the database as integers or numbers? Text, strings. Oh my gosh, my brain and my mouth cannot align. There is no straight answer, right? It can be whatever you want it to be, but think about it from a couple of angles, and where I get to with this is like the debate around whether numbers are meaningful in terms of their order in the enum class or whatever. If you're using strings, they're going to take up space. If you're using a lot more space potentially over time than integers, it's not significant, but it could be. So you need to think about that. People argue about readability of like, well, I'm looking at my database, I want to see the name of the thing. I think that's a minimal case for what you actually want to be able to do for the most part. Most people are not looking at your database. So you don't really need the string to be in the database. That's just helping you. And trust me, any enum that's got even a sizable number of cases is not going to be a problem for you. If you look at that data regularly in that way, you will start to see the ones that you're regularly looking for and remember what they are. So you don't need the name. If you really need the name in the database, you could store it in, metadata around the row or the column. So that's one way of getting around that. But the other thing then to consider is when we're looking at these in our code, the numbers that we are assigning to them are essentially meaningless. They don't have any bearing on the real value. It's just a way of what's the data in the database saying to our code, this is the value of this enum. Not the other way around. It's not when I say pending, I mean 0. It's when I say 0, I mean pending. I hope that makes some sense. What it's akin to is if you ever used old systems before enums were really viable in PHP like this, you might have seen somebody normalize the database and they'd have a table of enums, like this relationship between a string value and the integer value. And then they'd use the integer value in the other tables where they were referencing that enum. And then they'd have to create all these joins to pull out the text value, the string value of that enum. And these tables would never change, or they'd change very rarely. And how did they build those tables? Well, it was usually like a primary key, like ID, and then the string. So if we flip that around, obviously we don't want to do it that way because that's a horrible way of building enums and linking them to our data. If we want to do it in the PHP world, we've just flipped it around. We've got the table. Our table is now our enum class. The strings are the label that we give to it. I can't remember what it's called, the title of the enum. And the value is the ID. So that whole, can I inject one in the middle? What should I do with the numbers if the order matters? The order shouldn't matter. If your enums have integer values and the order matters, you're using them for the wrong thing. It's the wrong data basically that you're applying to an enum. And I'll fight you on that. Basically, you should be using something else if the order matters. I'm sure people will go, oh no, but you can. Yes, you can, but you shouldn't. And if it really did matter and you felt that enums were really the only way, then you wouldn't start 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You would start 100, 200, or 1,000, 2,000, and give yourself plenty of room in between them, because then you know that your ordering is going to change potentially in the future. Anyway, that was a nice little aside. Sorry for if that wasn't that enjoyable for you, but it was an important conversation that I had the other day, and I think everybody can take value from that. Right, water break. Let's get back to this. So these statuses will do. Remember, these are the IDs, so I don't care about the order. If I want to inject more, I'll just continue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It doesn't matter where they are in the flow of like stages of statuses, or how would you call it? Like the state machine of statuses, payment statuses. They're not sequential. It doesn't matter. So this will do. Let's hook these up. Let's import currency, status. Cool. Right. So we've got those. This array we'll come back to later on. We can get rid of these for a second. We're going to now we want to like adapt this response into our model. So I'm going to have a look at this payment DTO, and I guess typically here you'd want a function that turns it into to payment model, something like that. So we can take, in the context of the DTO itself, we can encapsulate all of the things around transforming the data that we've got in the DTO into the structure that it needs to be for the other thing that we're sending it into. When you could have that in the model and say from DTO, there's some, maybe if anybody's got any thoughts on that, we can chat about that. But I'd like to do it from the DTO, I think, first. Let's see what's this ended up with. Oh, damn, that's sensible. I think that's mostly what I need it to be. Payment, well, that's not quite right. Status is also not quite right. I want these to be my currency, and this is going to come from code. That's going to be this currency, but it's probably, there isn't one, because we know that there isn't one coming back from this at the moment. That might change in the future, and that's all like way out there, but is there like a from? String back to enum. Is that one? Yes. So we can leave it like that, and then the status. That kind of highlights that this DTO is status specific, right? This is this is a payment that's just been created, so this is like a pending payment. I'm actually going to refactor this. And that's going to tell me that nothing's using it. I don't believe you. Well, it's figured out that it was here. Where is that? That's in create payment. Yeah, it's updated. Fine. Okay. So we should see that be a pending payment, and then we can do a two-payment model, and we can rely on this being pending. So we're going to say status pending. Cool. And payment QR source, payment URL. Yes, I want to capture both of those. Right, then we need to just look at the amount. So this is really, let's actually extract this. There's going to be like a match currency, yeah, let's just call it factor equals 100. Is it factor? What's the smallest denominator? How do you say like the smallest denomination for every currency, with like pennies or pence, or I can't think of any others. Cents. What do you call that? It's like a denomination factor. So to get from the amount in the larger denomination to the smallest denomination, what's the factor? And for all of those, it's actually the same. So not that we've got those, we actually can't do that, but in theory, we should be able to just stack them like that because the factor's the same for all of those. But in this case, we're gonna do it like this, and default denomination factor probably should be 100 as well, to be honest, so maybe we don't even really need this. So it's actually not there, it's there, and that's it. So we want to extract this even further. It's fun. I like working backwards instead of going from the top to the bottom. I think we've gone from the bottom to the top. That's been fun, hasn't it? So we've got currency, and then we can multiply our amount by our denomination factor. Whoop. Come on. Thank you. Right. So we should get, for this 100.56, we should get 10,056 in theory. Which also means that we should assume that this is a float. Or we should intentionally cast it as a float. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Let's see what happens. But it's a string at the moment, as we see here. It's going to be a string. It's not particularly fun. Yeah, that could end up being really messy. But let's see. Let's import this. And then, so yeah, creating the payment model object. Do I want to store it in the database from that? Probably not. It's nice to just create the thing like a factory, and then I can modify it, right? Oh, comments. Sorry, I'm only just seeing the chat. So I'm just minor unit. Yes. Sense. Yes. From the Unicode code. Sense. Yes. Definitely amount is better stored as integer. 100%. I agree with all of that. There are some gotchas even with integer format, but I think it's better overall as well. Yeah. Okay. Good comments, team. Let's carry on. Okay. So yes, I want the model to come out. I don't want to store it at this point because I might want to do some stuff with it. This can go away for a second. So I've got my DTO, and then I want to payment model. And now I should have a payment model that's got all of the extra data in it, in theory. Let's see. Yes. Okay, that's interesting. Look, it's kept it as a float, even though we cast to an integer. And then we've got this extra stuff in here. Fine. And status is 0. So that's nice. It's all working mostly how I intended, except for that. Question, why is that not being translated into an integer? When I am explicitly saying integer there. Laravel model casting. This is mutators, not casting. That's not super clear. You have to cast it int. Think eloquent cast when it creates the model from the database. Yeah, I think you're right. The casting is happening only on the way out, isn't it? Not really on the way in. So let's make sure that it is. In fact, let's see what happens if we just get rid of the float for a second. See if we try and multiply a string by an integer. A floaty string by an integer, in fact. It's going to end up being a float still. Yeah. So if we just said, is it int? Try and do that. It still works. And then it gets wiped out. Okay, because that's being applied just to the amount, and I don't want it to the amount. I want it to be the amount multiplied by. Fine. That's exactly what we want it to be. That's better. Although I'm still worried about this being a string, honestly. Gah. JSON. Or whoever's abusing it to send values as strings like that. Anyway, that's fine. So now we've got our payment model, and we can store that in the database. Really simple. Save. What's that fussing about? Oh yeah, this is the wrong. It's not pending payment anymore. It's a payment. And that's models. Wow. Payment. And in fact, I think, oh yeah, that doesn't know about that. Yeah, that's the problem with that. It's not going to find out what that is. It's a little bit annoying that even with type hinting here, if I type hinted this as a, which is what it should be, let's do the proper thing, put the type hint on there, that's nicer. It's not going to come out here knowing that that's a payment model because of this mixed thing in the middle, because it's an abstract bit of logic that it's running through. Maybe here I can, maybe this will let me, it says it can be narrowed. But even from there it's not, yeah, it's too abstract. It's fine though. Just make sure that still works. Right, cool, errors, love errors. I love errors because they tell us that we're making progress. So you can cast a float this amount and the result in, yes, I agree with that. We could do that. It is a little bit ugly and I kind of wanted to avoid it. I think we can get away with it for the time being. I will revisit it though if it becomes problematic. That's definitely probably the right thing that we should be doing. In fact, we could probably cast, oh, it might even be the fact of that there. I think it has to be a string here because that is what comes back from the API. We can just prove that for a second because I'm going to call it without all of the DTO logic. There's an interesting thing there. Yeah, it's a string. So it has to be a string here because that's what we're getting from them. And then we have to cast it. We should cast it as a float because it is a float. That's what we want to treat it as here. We could do that. I don't know. We could just do it. Let's just do it. We know that it's a float. But then when we move this around, we should deal with a float wherever we deal with this amount. I'm just trying to think where that best goes on its own. I don't know. We'll figure it out when the time is right. But yeah, you're right. We should do that. Explode. Oh no, not exploding. About the float. They explode from dot. Who explodes from dot? Sorry, I think I've missed something there. I think what we've got for now will do the trick. So we hit this error. It's not saving because we don't have a user ID. And the user ID, I think I kind of originally wanted that to be the customer. And I think that also, that kind of highlights something about the whole system. Like you think of users as the people who create accounts and they log in, and I don't think I want to do that for people who are the customer, the people who pay. I think we need to capture some data about them. We need to capture like their email address. We've done this. We looked at that on here. So we need some reference to the customer. We need an ID, and then we might want to capture some other detail here. I don't really want to be capturing customer details though on behalf of, like, it's up to the merchant to have those details and do what they want with them. I don't really want that. Do I need to capture it? I don't know. Maybe as like a regulatory thing, you've got to. Yeah. So, okay. MoneyPHP from GitHub. My comment may have been filtered because I posted a link. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I can't see the comment with the link. Explode MoneyPHP. What are you referring to exactly? It's got some kind of parser. Somewhere in this logic they kind of break it off from the rest of the string. Is that what's happening? Yeah, this is interesting. I think there are cases where this makes sense, where you've got a composite string that represents a financial amount in a, like this, for example, where it's got the currency associated with it or a currency symbol. And I can see something like this being super beneficial in like where you're just not in control of what the data looks like. And to a certain extent, we're not in control of what the data looks like here. We're getting a string that's formatted in a certain way. But I've got like a high level of confidence that what we can do with those people, with that company, Trillo, is work closely with them to make sure that they've got some sort of standardized way of handling amounts, so that they don't do this, for example, where they're changing the styling of the amount based on localization norms. You know, this sort of the 1,000 separator being a period, and the kind of decimals, the denomination being separated with a comma in the euro, and the symbol appearing in there, or the actual currency code or something. Like, we can just tell them, please don't do that. I also just think it's kind of unusual for payment systems to do it that way, is my feeling. I think this has come out of a world where people have just been allowed to do it whatever way they want, and they've not thought about it, and this is having to deal with it after the fact. So good, potentially very valuable in another context. Maybe it will come in here at some point, but for now this feels like overkill. I think we can do with the casting that we've done sort of reliably for the time being. We should definitely have some tests around this stuff. So that's something that we should come to. I keep saying we'll come to with Saloon, because it would help us actually set up some appropriate expectations, maybe. Anyway, yeah, good hint. I'll keep MoneyPHP in mind. I haven't ever used it, so that's good to be sort of more familiar with it anyway. Let's go back to this error. We've got no user to associate this payment with. User isn't really the right thing, as I was saying, because I don't want customers who are going to pay to have to create an account on this service in order to be able to make a payment. I just want them to go through and pay. But I do need to associate the transaction with someone. And we might need to capture some details about them. Feels like the minimum is email. So maybe we should just create this table, and let's get rid of name. Everywhere should do markdown. Seriously, this is really annoying. Is it in here? Yeah. What's the key? There's no keystroke for that. Nice. No keystroke, no markdown. Miro, that's -2 points. So we'll create an ID, we'll capture email, that's enough. Right, let's build that. PHP artisan make model customer M, and we'll do create customers table. So we've got ID and timestamps, so we just need email, blah blah blah. There's not one for email now, is there? No. Email. Unique. Fine, that'll do. We'll do more on that later. Now we have a customers table. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. And we need to then associate, so that we need to associate the payment with the team and with the customer, right? So I want to take my payment, and yeah, it is kind of that, and it is kind of that, although it's not user ID, I want customer ID. And I don't want to do it this way. I want to do it like the relationship way, really, because it's a relationship. So this is just kind of pseudo. That's also not correct. Customer is going to be customer create. Is it create? I think it is. And we're just going to have email being the email, and we need some validation and blah 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 blah. Hooray! Should do a proper. We'll get into proper like form request or something. Yeah, magical in a bit. Let's just do that. Merchant ID. I think it should be customer create, right? So I can create it directly, and team, is it associate? I can never remember. Well, let's create the relationships first. We've got those models now. So we can do public function team, public function customer. No. Yeah. Okay. It is belongs to, right? Where's the type in? Damn it. Associate? Yeah. And create? Ooh, that must be on a base relation somewhere. Create. Whoop. Oh dear. Don't know. Where belongs to? No, that's the wrong one, isn't it? Because that's factories. Belongs to. That one. It was the top one. It's always the top result. Why do well, I've got that Google thing from years ago where you never click the first result on the page because that was typically the ad. Now the ads go all the way down the page. Anyway, default. Nope. Querying. This is not the answer. Where is creating New comment, save comment. That's if I've created it beforehand, and then I want to do it with associating. Which way around is that? I can never remember. The comment should have a post ID. The comment should have a post ID. The comment is like the customer doesn't have one. No, that's the other way around. The inverse, blah blah. Create is what I want to do, and it is just create. That also is backwards. No. That's gonna try and put a post ID on the comment that's being created. I don't want to do that. I want to put the customer ID. This is for like has many. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Where's the title for that? There isn't one. That just assumes. Yeah, it's not really. Yeah, it's not the right way around. I want to give the user account. Oh man, that's confusing naming. What am I doing? You want to assign a child model to a new parent. You may use the associate. The user model defines belongs to relationship to the account model. This associate will set the foreign key on the child model. What does that? That means oh, my brain's upside down with these methods. And why can't I remember? Why do I not do this often enough? This other question. I don't know. I want to associate the ID of the customer onto. Do you know what? I'm not going to try and do it. This is just upside down. I just want to create a customer record, get the ID, and put it onto the payment. And this doesn't feel right, and I can't fathom it. Associate, it's not right either. Yeah, these. One of them's got to be right. I don't know which one it is. Just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. I would like to do it the right way, but I haven't got time for that. We'll do, this should be first or create. That's a thing, isn't it? First or create. First or create. And it's really just the email. So it's going to find it by email, or it's going to create it. And if it's not unique, it's going to fail because the database has got a unique constraint on it. Fine. Let's see. Oh, no, I can't do that because my payment model doesn't look like this. I need a new migration. Make migration. Swap user ID for custom ID. Where is that database actually? It's not there. I must have it in. Could be. Spread. Let's just change it here. Oh, that's pretty grim, isn't it? I think this is going to have a fit. Yeah, that's not right. I do need to drop it because it's not users, it's customers. I need to properly get rid of the old one and make a new one. That's what we should do. Swap. And where's the other one? Payments. Oops. Schema, table, payments. I think I've probably got to drop the one before I create the other. I've got a feeling this is going to be a pain. Oh, no, it looks like it just worked, which is strange. It didn't do that at all. Okay. What? After? Let's try and put it in the right place. Not that it matters. This actually doesn't matter at all. Drop user ID. Table, drop, column. Just get rid of this. Oh no, what? Delete. Oh goody. Delete. Oh yeah. What? Well, cannot drop index needed in a foreign key constraint. Does that mean it's on this as well? No. Oh, I don't understand. How do I? Cannot drop needed in foreign key constraint. How do I? Sorry, what? Do I just? rid of that. There we go, it's gone now. Oh. So how do I... that first, and then I can get rid of these two? Or if I just get rid of the column, it's gone. Okay, that doesn't really make an awful lot of sense. Why it can't just work out that it needs to do the foreign key constraint deletion first. I don't know. So how do we do that in the world of this magical thing? Table foreign drop constrain foreign. Oh, which one of these is it? Drop foreign, drop column. That is what we need. Not the drop column one. That's not going to cut it. Oh yeah, I need to get rid of that migration. No, that didn't work either. Can't drop payments user ID foreign. Check it exists. It does exist. It is there. Foreign key payments user ID foreign. It's gotten rid of the foreign key blah 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 blah. Gotta love it. This is not what I hoped to be doing, but that still doesn't work either. What does it say this time? Oh well, that's just stupid. Drop constrain foreign ID 4. Drop. That's just. I don't know. I'm just going to drop the column because I can. And that is done now, right? Still didn't put that in the right place because the after was in the wrong. So let's forget that. Doesn't matter anyway. Oh, Essa, I've just seen your message. If you're not around still, goodbye. Thanks for joining. Yes, I agree. It's a good project to pursue. I hope it's going to be useful. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, well, sorry about that 20-second break. Hope you're able to use it well. Annoying migration stuff because I don't do that often enough either, clearly. Never mind. And sorry about the banging. That's not me, I promise. Okay, so we've got our customer set up, we've got it connected, we've got to update our... Do we need to update anything here? No. Do we need to update anything here? No. What do we need to do? Payment controller. Customer ID. Let's see what our payment looks like off the back of that. Oh, email to fillable to allow mass assignment. There we go. This is why we don't have to think, because error messages are so good. Customer. Does this let us do it automatically? No, don't know why. Protected fillable email. Da da da. Email cannot be null. But it's not, is it? Oh no, it is, because I'm not sending it in. Email equals blogs. Good old classic. There we go. Now we've got a customer ID. Let's do another one for a different amount. £10.34, just for a change. Should be the same customer, same team, different amount, different link. Now if we have a look at the database, in our payments, there aren't any. Oh no, because we didn't get that far. But we should have customers. Yes. We've got Joe Blogs. And that's maybe sufficient for now. We know our team. Yeah, there we are. So we can save, we should be able to save our payment because it's full of the details that we know that we require. No errors. Tables, got some stuff in it. Woo! Nice. So now we're persisting our references to payments. Why? Why are we doing that? Well, one is traceability from the merchant's perspective. I think that's really important, like how many payments have gone through or been created and what state are they in, like which ones have completed. From our perspective as the marketplace, which ones are still waiting to be processed, you know, and then there's the opportunity maybe to go back to the customer and say, hey, you didn't ever finish that payment, do you want to come back and finish that payment? That could be kind of cool. What else? I mean, if we ever did get to the point of having a customer portal where the customer does actually have a user account and can log in and see all of their payments, that could be interesting as well. Yeah, there's a bunch of things. I mean, maybe payments aren't even the right model for some of that stuff at the end of the day. This is just a starting point, so we shouldn't think too far ahead. But we've got our payment, we've got a record that it has been initiated. As we said, like, this is a pending payment. Really, what we're creating here is a pending payment. This is already starting to look like quite a crazy controller. I think there's quite a bit of stuff going on in here that needs to be split out. Like some of the bits around how well, I almost would want to wrap this up in a create Trello payment from request. And that is what the controller is, so that's going to end up looking quite the same. But then when you've got that payment that you go and turn it into a model, I think that just shifts some of that logic around somewhere else. It doesn't really make it any... This is kind of the smallest this can be at the moment. While I'm not going to overthink that too much. It might change shape in time to come, but for now, this is okay. So, I accept. Maybe that's a good point to pause. Is anybody still here? No. Yeah. I'm going to pause for 10 minutes. Should I stop? You know, actually, I think this couple of hours, I probably need to do some other things. So I'm going to properly stop. We'll wrap this up. Let's wrap this up properly. We're going to jump into here. We're going to sort out what we've done. So yeah, let's not do that. Let's go. Gonna add customer model migrations. We have fleshed out the payment model, team, customer, yeah, flesh out payment model. We've got pending payment. Refactor payment DTO to pending payment. And then we've got, let's take this bit. There's one, and that was dynamic merchant discovery from URL. Let's get the Trello payment ID from the DB. We haven't got a way to put that in the DB yet. We haven't do that manually, but that's okay. And then we are store payment record from Trello response. Also creates a customer record if needed. Done. I'm not going to push that at the moment because that auto deploys. Yeah, there's some stuff there which isn't really ready for production. Okay. I think that's got us into a happy place. Wow, just under 2 hours. That is, kind of typical stream. I think that's okay for a stream, isn't it? 2 hours. I've been sat in the same position for 2 hours, basically. Don't know if that's a good thing. That feels like we made some really good progress. So we're actually getting the payment record stored, and it's a small thing. And it's not particularly complicated. I mean, we've stretched it out by talking about a lot of those things, but I like to do that, make sure that everybody who watches this later or was watching it whilst we were doing it was kind of on the same page. I hope that's not too low level for people. Again, apologies for my sound problems today. and just OBS playing up. I don't maybe get that sorted out at some point. I hope that you have a great weekend and that you enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. Try to have a little bit of fun. Try to step away from the computer. And yeah, have a good few days of being away from whatever your normal looks like. And refresh. Try and get some refresh time in. That will be good. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let you have a fantastic time without me, and we'll get together and have a fantastic time together next week. How about that? Sound okay? Good. Over and out.